Well, welcome back. In this segment, I'm going to be speaking to the fabulous Jackie Kelly, who is a partner at Adelaide Capital. Jackie, welcome back.
Thanks, James.
Jackie, I recently saw a clip of you visiting Avicanna at the Mars building.
Yes.
And so before we go any further, we're going to just roll that clip to give the audience a bit of perspective about our upcoming conversation.
Okay. So we are here at Avicanna Inc., headquarters in Toronto, and I've got with me Aras Azadian. We are now in the space.
Yeah, this is home office. So this is our Toronto head office. It's also where everything began from. So all the R&D was initially done here. We're actually in the J Labs facility, which is the Johnson & Johnson Incubation Center. To better explain how that works, this is an incubation center where Johnson & Johnson collaborates with promising biotechnological or pharmaceutical developments and companies. And we were actually admitted, and we were the first cannabinoid company to be admitted here. So since then, we have 2 laboratories here where our scientists, which is about 25 of them now, work with the staff here, and also across the street where we have the collaboration with the University of Toronto's Department of Pharmacy. So what makes this place very special for me, and I think for the scientific community, is that it's in the center of Mars. So Mars is a medical and related research center where you have a combination of some of the major hospitals and research institutions, including UHN, UFT, Toronto General Hospital. You have Princess Margaret Hospital, you have Sick Kids Hospital, basically all of the main clinical and academic institutions related to science, medical research is here. And we happen to have all of these incredible minds within 100 feet sort of proximity to us. So not only do we do the R&D here in our own beautiful facility here, we do have support from Johnson & Johnson senior executives at a mentorship level. We have our team at University of Toronto, but we also have our clinical partnerships. The way I look at this industry, I think Canada is so far has been the center of this industry. And if Canada is the center of this industry and we're in the center of the research part of Canada, we are well positioned to be the thought leaders and the innovation leaders when it comes to cannabinoid research and cannabinoid innovations. And that's something that we take strong pride in.
And how long have you been part of J Labs?
We originally were admitted about 2 years ago. It was a tough process, given, of course, the natural stigma that's associated to cannabinoids and cannabis. But because we were a strictly medical and pharmaceutical-oriented company, I think showing the research, showing the products and the actual technology associated to what we're doing, in addition to having a very strong scientific and medical team, was a reason we were ultimately approved to be part of this incubation center.
So obviously a big deal. Your location is right in the heart of it, but I want to touch more on J Labs because it is such, an exclusive platform to be part of. So how many J Labs are there? Do you know worldwide or?
I think there's a total of 5. There's a few in the United States. We're the only one, Toronto is the only one that has one in Canada. Yeah. I think it's an incredible opportunity for small biotech startups or mid-sized companies to be here. Again, you have about 40,000 square feet of lab space, that's common area, so there's millions of dollars worth of equipment that we have access to use. In addition, we have our own individual labs, but having not only the location, but having that amount of support, in addition to all that equipment and all that sort of space is very, very helpful. And also there's a lot of other innovative, like-minded companies.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about this space, the different areas, what it facilitates.
So we're currently in the common area. And the common area is meant to be an open concept working space for all the companies. In addition to that, there is the boardrooms. So there's individual boardrooms that we obviously utilize. In addition to that, there is individual offices. So our team has offices in the back space as well. We have 2 offices. In addition to that, there's individual labs. So we happen to have 2 labs, one that's designed for controlled substances and one that's designed for more open research where our scientists do a lot of the pre-formulation work.
Well, I will say the security to get up here is tight, so.
Fort Knox. Yeah.
All right, well, thanks for inviting us in and showing us the space, and we'll keep a keen eye out on the story.
Thank you.
That is quite the beautiful office.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
And so does this mean that Johnson & Johnson is an investor in Avicanna?
They're a mentor.
A mentor?
Yes.
So that is Johnson & Johnson with one toe in the cannabis space.
Unofficially, that's correct.
Wow,
yes.
That's incredible. Yeah. So Avicanna is obviously a company that we should be paying closer attention to. They're still private, right?
That's right. So they're going to do a full IPO, so not an RTO, an IPO, and they'll go public probably January or February of next year.
Wow, very cool. And so obviously with Johnson & Johnson's involvement, they're focused on the biomedical applications of cannabis?
That's right. So they have 4 different vertically integrated structures, and the first is growing. So they are LPs, and they're Columbia-based. They've got 2 facilities down there. And one of their facilities, they're partnered with a group called Grupo Devon, and it's the world's largest organic agricultural company. So they've got the logistics, the import-export, like the processing facilities, the whole thing. So, really great partners on the agro side. Then they're partnered for medical or in California with King's Garden.
Okay.
Then they're partnered cosmetic line with J&J. They're working on that. So it's a dermatology cosmetic line. So they've worked with some of the people from Aveeno and that kind of stuff. And then the 4th and final is they're applying for DINs, so drug identification numbers, to do orphan drug status.
Wow, interesting. So they are probably very conversant with the idea of isolating specific cannabinoids at a pharmaceutical grade to use as an ingredient in these new drugs that they're going to develop.
That's exactly right.
Very cool. Wow, you've been really getting around lately.
Yes.
So tell me about Adelaide Capital. Like, what are you guys up to? You recently came back from Las Vegas.
That's right. So I was down in Vegas for MJ Biz, which was phenomenal. It was a great turnout. There was over 20,000 attendees, over 1,000, what are they called?
Exhibitors?
Exhibitors,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I guess, did you meet lots of new people down there?
I did. It was a lot of ancillary products and kind of, synergies. So soil companies or packaging companies, that kind of stuff. So there's not a lot of LPs. A few of the big ones were represented, but I'd kind of known those guys already.
Okay.
But really, it was the parties that the networking was done at.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you were invited to all the parties, I'm sure.
I did about 5 a night.
Wow.
Yeah.
5 a night?
Yeah.
Wow. What time did you get to bed every night?
Late. Yes.
Wow, fantastic. So was the conference oriented towards investors mostly, or was it more like cannabis business to business, or was it cannabis business to consumer?
Business to business, I'd say primarily, and then business to consumer, secondary. So it was not investor focused.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not at all, eh? Cool. Great. So then what are you seeing happening in the cannabis space generally? Were the American people there very excited about cannabis becoming legal, and is there a real sort of excitement in the air down there?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I would say that a lot of the attendees were Canadian. So a lot of Canadians definitely came down for the conference. But all the Americans that I spoke to, A, commented on how many Canadians there were, and B, they're definitely starting to get excited about the space, and they're starting to, look towards our exchange as an investment platform.
Sure.
Which is great.
Yeah. Does Adelaide Capital service a lot of cannabis companies?
We do. We've got some Canadian, some U.S. A lot of our cannabis companies that we're working with are private right now. We do have a couple publics. So.
Sure. Yeah. So as an investor relations person, how are you finding, so you've got some clients who are mining.
Yes.
And you've got some clients who are cannabis.
Yes.
Which one is more popular?
That's a tough one.
Yeah, well, I have lots of mining investments and lots of cannabis investments, and today they're all red.
Right.
However, most days it's the cannabis investments are obviously a lot more dynamic, a lot more interest globally from the investor space, and the mining market has been basically gone back into pain and suffering mode, such as it has been for the last going on 6 years now, 7 years maybe. So in terms of Adelaide Capital's future sort of client flow, are you guys looking for more exposure to the cannabis space, or are you looking to preserve your sort of practices in both mining and cannabis, and do you have other practices?
So yeah, we work with companies in all sorts of industries. So we've got mining, tech, industrials, cannabis, healthcare. I mean, we're very broad and generalist in that sense. But yeah, right now cannabis is hot, and there's a lot happening. So to not be in the space would be a mistake. I think that there's going to be a lot of M&A activity. There's going to be a lot of roll-ups and all sorts of kind of mixing and mingling amongst the cannabis companies. So
Yeah.
I think there's still going to be a lot of work to be done, especially U.S. U.S. cannabis companies. I think is kind of
Sure.
now the hot spot. Canada's sort of, had a good run.
Right. So tell me about some of the technology companies that excite you.
One of my favorites is Enwave Corporation. I know you've interviewed Brett Charlton. He's
Right.
the new CEO.
Right.
So they do have a little bit of a cannabis focus because they're a dehydration technology machine and they are able to dry cannabis, but they also dry fruits for cereals or, all sorts of other
Dehumidification on a
Exactly.
industrial scale.
That's right. That's right.
Huh, very cool.
But we like that one. That stock has performed well, and it's a steady growth company. I mean, cannabis is different because there's high volatility in the marketplace in general, right?
Yeah, you bet.
But with these other stocks, we kind of try and pick slow and steady,
Yeah,
just
right.
Going up.
Right. So are there other companies that you're working with that you really like?
Oh yeah, there's a bunch. An industrial that we like is Atlas Engineered Products. The ticker's AAP.
Oh, I've heard about that one.
Yep.
What do they make?
They make roof trusses.
Oh.
So
Okay.
literally like the triangle-shaped frames for roofs.
Everybody needs a roof over their head.
They do. So so they're cool. They're a roll-up, but with organic growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really like that one.
Cool. And so from where you guys sit, do you see any sort of recovery in the mining space on the road
I think
ahead?
so. Yeah. Some of the base metals and the battery kind of things are coming back into play a little bit. So I think Canada's always going to have a sweet spot for mining.
Yeah.
To
sure.
an extent.
in our
And we
blood.
do have a couple mining companies.
Yeah.
We represent Golden Rain, which is now Mako Mining. They just did an acquisition,
Oh.
or merger, I should say. And so they relisted yesterday.
As Omega Mining?
Mako.
Mako.
Yeah.
M-A-C-O?
Makeo.
Oh.
Like the fish.
Like the shark.
Or like the
okay.
shark, yeah, like the shark. So Mako, and then we've got Solitario Zinc, which is a U.S. company. SLR, they're dual listed here in
And is
the
zinc
States.
making a comeback?
Zinc's having a little, it's
Percolating?
Yeah, a little bit.
Bubbling along?
It's the sector itself is having a little bit of a hard time, but I think everything's gonna come back hopefully.
Yeah, I guess, especially if we get that big recession that everybody's talking about.
Yeah, hopefully not. But
Yeah, no kidding. All right, Jackie, we'll leave it there. We'll come back to you in due course. Thanks for joining me
okay,
today.
thanks.